What if history's greatest collapses all follow the same curve? Imagine a single chart, one line, rising and falling, that has quietly mapped the fate of every superpower in history: Rome, Britain, the USSR, and now maybe the United States. This isn't about chaos, it's not chance, it's about a pattern hidden in plain sight for centuries. Picture the marble columns of Rome, the bustling banks of London, the red banners waving over Moscow. Each empire believed it was different. Each thought it could defy gravity, rewrite the rules, and stay at the top forever. But beneath all that glory, the same cycle was running its course. Expansion, peak, denial, and then the sudden, sharp drop. Today, that same chart is flashing its warning again. Our headlines: soaring debt, political gridlock, global unrest. They aren't just news, they're echoes of a pattern that's played out over and over again. The curve is bending, and the stakes have never been higher. Coming up in this video, the one chart no leader wants you to see. We'll reveal the secret it holds, expose the cycles it tracks, and explore why the next chapter of our story may already be written. But what does this chart actually show? And more importantly, where are we on it right now? History's most powerful empires all climbed the same mountain and tumbled down the same slope. Imagine a chart we can call the superpower life cycle. It starts with a slow, steady rise, fueled by ambition, innovation, and conquest. Think of Rome's legions marching across Europe, building roads and aqueducts that last for millennia. Or London's ships circling the globe, with gold and spices pouring into the city's coffers. Remember Moscow's factories roaring to life, the red flag flying over half the world. At the peak, the view is dazzling. The Colosseum in Rome is packed with cheering crowds. In the city's markets overflow with goods from every corner of the known world. Britain's pound sterling is the world's reserve currency, and its navy rules the seas unchallenged. The USSR launches Sputnik, the first man-made satellite, and the entire planet watches in awe, wondering what they'll do next. But the curve always bends. Expansion turns into overreach. Rome's borders stretch too far, its armies become too expensive to maintain, and the treasury slowly empties. Britain borrows massive sums to fund endless wars. Its colonies transform from assets into burdens. And the Suez Crisis exposes its new limits to a shocked world. The USSR pours its resources into a relentless arms race, but deep-seated inefficiency and corruption begin to rot the system from the inside out. Then comes the decline. It's often faster than anyone expects. Rome starts debasing its currency to pay its bills, inflation spirals out of control, and the people lose faith in their leaders. Britain's debts mount, the pound collapses, and an empire that took centuries to build unravels in a single generation. The USSR faces empty shelves, plummeting oil prices, and then a sudden, shocking collapse in 1991 that catches everyone by surprise. So how did Rome's unstoppable ascent turn into a freefall? Why did Britain's vast empire unravel so quickly after reaching its peak? And what is the common trigger that seems to send every superpower over the edge? The key isn't just one thing. It's a deadly combination. The first factor is always debt. Every single one of these empires financed their rise by borrowing from the future. They built armies, roads, and monuments on credit. But eventually, the bill always comes due. For Rome, military spending spiraled out of control. For Britain, it was the cost of 2 world wars. For the USSR, it was the arms race against the United States. When debt payments start consuming more of the budget than productive investments, the economic engine sputters and stalls. The second factor is internal division. As an empire grows wealthy, the gap between the rich and the poor widens. In Rome, political conflict between the elite and the common people grew violent. In Britain, class tensions simmered beneath the surface. In the USSR, the party elites lived a life of privilege, while ordinary citizens stood in line for bread. This internal strife paralyzes the government, making it impossible to solve the big problems, like that crushing debt. The nation starts fighting itself instead of its external challenges. The final factor is the rise of a rival. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does geopolitics. As the dominant power weakens, a new challenger, hungrier and more disciplined, rises to take its place. For a weakening Rome, it was the Germanic tribes. For a declining Britain, it was the United States and the Soviet Union. And for the USSR, it was a resurgent America and a dynamic China. The old power, burdened by debt and torn by internal conflict, simply can't compete anymore. So, debt, division, and a rising competitor. That's the classic trio that has brought down every superpower in history. The pattern is shockingly consistent. This brings us to the unavoidable question. Where does the United States stand on this curve today? Let's look at the data. US national debt is at its highest level in history. Political polarization is more intense than it's been in generations. And a powerful economic and military competitor is rapidly growing in the East. The parallels are hard to ignore. But here's the crucial difference. Unlike the Romans or the Soviets, we have history's playbook. We can see the pattern. We know what the warning signs are. The chart doesn't have to be our destiny. It can be our wake-up call. The choices we make right now, about our economy, our unity, and our place in the world, will determine whether we follow the curve down or chart a new path. The next chapter isn't written yet. It's up to us to decide what it says. Every superpower's chart has a breaking point. It's that moment when the line, after climbing for centuries, turns sharply downward and collapse accelerates. It's never just one event. It's a slow, agonizing build. Debt piling up, leaders making promises they can't keep, the public growing restless, and rivals circling like sharks, sensing weakness. Picture Rome in its final centuries. The treasury is empty. The pure silver in its coins is replaced with cheap metal. Soldiers demand higher pay, but the empire can't deliver. As inflation rages, the people lose faith in their money, and more importantly, in their rulers. This isn't just an economic problem, it's a crisis of belief. Now, jump to London right after World War II. The city is battered, the empire victorious but completely broke. Britain has to borrow massive sums from America just to keep the lights on. Then comes the Suez Crisis in 1956. It's a global humiliation. The world suddenly sees the pound's weakness, and the empire's decline becomes irreversible. The trust is gone. Let's move to Moscow in the 1980s. The Soviet Union is locked in an arms race it simply cannot afford. Then, oil prices crash, their main source of income evaporates, and the economy stagnates. The brutal war in Afghanistan bleeds the nation dry, both in treasure and morale. Gorbachev's reforms, while well-intentioned, come far too late. The Berlin Wall falls, and the mighty USSR dissolves almost overnight. And who could forget America in 2008? The towers of Wall Street trembled as the entire global financial system teetered on the brink of collapse. Bailouts, panic, and a sudden, terrifying realization. The system that everyone trusted was far more fragile than it ever seemed. This is the confidence crisis. The exact moment the world stops believing in your money, your promises, and your power. Once that belief shatters, contagion spreads like a wildfire. Markets crash, leaders scramble, but by then, it's often too late. The momentum of the fall is too great. History's chart is ruthless, but every single era makes the same claim. It's different this time. Rome's senators trusted in their legions. Britain's bankers trusted in the sterling pound. Soviet leaders put their faith in ideology. Each one ignored the clear warning signs on the curve, right up until the crash. So, let's look at today's world. America's national debt is at record highs, far beyond anything seen before. Global markets are interconnected in ways that make the 2008 crisis look simple. Digital money moves at the speed of light. But the fundamental warning signs, debt, deep social division, and widespread denial, are hauntingly familiar. Picture them side by side. Rome debasing its currency, Britain drowning in post-war debt, the USSR running out of resources, and now America facing ballooning deficits and political gridlock. Each one believed they could outsmart the pattern. And each one watched the exact same curve play out before their eyes. So, is today's world somehow immune to this collapse curve? Or are we just the next line on history's unforgiving chart? What do you think past leaders wished they had seen sooner, before it was too late? The chart is a warning, not a prophecy. History's curve tends to repeat, but the final outcome is never set in stone. The risks we face today are new: hyper-connected global markets, the rise of digital currencies, and the potential for instant worldwide contagion. But the lesson is ancient. No nation, no matter how mighty, can ignore the warning signs forever. The real question is, will we be the ones to finally break the curve? Or will we simply become another line on the chart for future generations to study? The answers are hidden in the past if you just know where to look. Subscribe for more hidden financial history and learn how to spot the signs of the next collapse before it happens. Next time, we'll explore the one empire that almost broke the curve. You won't want to miss it.